Hello, my name is Christine Norick, and I represent the SIPDC, which is part of the Illinois Adult Education Professional Development Network. And today I'll be going through a lesson about ratios and proportions connected to food and nutrition in the healthcare industry. As every lesson, please look in the description below for the links to the worksheets that I talk about. If you don't have access to those worksheets, I also will be sharing pictures of the questions on the screen. Let's start by thinking about the foods that you like to eat. What are some of your favorite foods? How do you know which foods are healthy and what's not healthy? How do you decide that? Maybe you can look on the screen and see some foods that you would consider healthy. Maybe you see foods that you would consider unhealthy. How do you make that decision? Well, in the United States, the Food and Drug Administration has created something called a nutrition facts label. And this label goes on every food product that is sold. Anything you'll find at the grocery store has this label. It looks like this. You've probably seen it before. And it gives information about what is in the food that you eat so you can make healthy decisions. Take a minute to pause the video if you want. You can go to your kitchen and grab something that you have, a bag of chips or a can of beans, and take a look at that label. We're going to be talking about it today, and we're going to be using our math skills to determine how much you should be eating from that and something called serving size. So let's go over some vocabulary that we're going to need for our lesson today. Nutrition, nutrients, serving size, ratio, proportion, numerator, denominator, and calories. Let's look at the definitions for each word. Nutrition is the process of our bodies taking in and using energy to grow. Nutrients are substances contained in food for human growth. This could be fat, calories, carbohydrates, sodium. Serving size is the amount a person should eat from the package at one time. A ratio is a fraction showing the relationship of two values. A proportion is an equation showing two equal ratios. The numerator is the number on the top of a fraction, and the denominator is the number on the bottom of a fraction. Calories is energy found in food. Take a minute to practice these vocabulary words before you go on in the lesson. You can stop the video, you can listen to this again, go back. You can also use this QR code here on the screen, and you can practice using flashcards, playing a game. Take whatever time you need, and when you're comfortable with the vocabulary words, you can come back and move on in the lesson. Let's go on to the next part of our lesson, and that's thinking about how much we eat. So when you take a bag of chips or a bag of cookies, it's going to tell you serving size, right? Just as we learned in the vocabulary, that's how much you should be eating at once. That's how much the bag or the container says to eat in one sitting is a serving size. Well, most times, very often, it's common that a package might contain more than one serving size. So you might have a bag of cookies, and it might be that they don't recommend you eat the whole bag of cookies at one time, right? There might be more than one serving size. As a healthcare professional, it's really important that you are able to direct your patients in healthy food choices, how they can make those decisions. We're going to watch a video clip of a healthcare professional having this conversation with one of her patients and learn more about what that might look like in the healthcare industry. Pay attention to what you hear the healthcare professional saying about serving size.
Serving size and servings per container should be among the first items your patients look for on the nutrition facts label. All of the nutrient information on the nutrition facts label is based on one serving of the food. Let's take a closer look at the serving information.
Before, you were talking about using the label to compare foods. Can you tell me a little more about how to do this?
Good question. First, check out the serving size and servings per container at the top of the nutrition facts label. Serving size is not an actual recommendation. Rather, it's based on the amount of food that is customarily eaten at one time. It's shown as a common household measure that is appropriate to the food, such as cup, tablespoon, piece, slice, or jar, followed by the metric amount in grams. The serving size can really vary from one food to another. For example, a serving from one package of cookies might be 5 cookies, but a serving from another package might be only 1 cookie. That's why you always need to check the nutrition facts label. The other key information at the top of the label is servings per container. This shows the total number of servings in the entire package. This is important because all of the information listed on the nutrition facts label is based on 1 serving, even if the package contains more than 1 serving. So, knowing the number of servings per container lets you figure out the total number of calories and nutrients you would be eating or drinking if you consumed the entire package.
Notice what they mentioned about serving size and how most containers use more than 1 serving size in the whole container. Let's take a look at how can we determine how many nutrients are in what we're eating if we're choosing to eat more than 1 serving size. This is an example of a nutrition facts label from the Food and Drug Administration. In this label, you'll see that there are 4 servings per container in this frozen lasagna, but a serving size is only 1 cup. In 1 serving size, there are 280 calories. Well, how do we know how many calories there might be if we chose to eat the whole container? If we ate all of the lasagna, 4 servings of the lasagna, how many calories would there be then? Well, in order to decide this information, we're going to use something called a ratio. We're going to use a ratio and we're going to set up an equal equation that shows proportion. Let's take a look at how we can do this. If we take a ratio on the left of calories per serving to 1 serving is equal to the calories per container in the whole container. So there are 280 calories per serving to 1 serving. 280 calories to 1 serving. That's a ratio, right? So we're setting up a proportion where both of these ratios need to be equal, if you remember our definition. So if there's 280 calories to 1 serving of lasagna, how many calories are there to 4 servings or the whole container? Well, in order to do this, we have to make sure the bottom number, 4, this denominator is the same. We need to make a common denominator, right? Right now, this is not equal. We have to make it equal. So what we're going to do is multiply both the numerator, the top number, and the denominator by 4 to make a common or an equal denominator. 280 times 4 over 1 times 4. Well, 280 times 4 is 1,120, and 1 times 4 is 4. Therefore, the ratio we're looking at now tells us that there's 1,120 calories to 4 servings, or 1,120 calories in the whole container. That might sound like a lot of calories, so maybe we decide, well, let's not eat the whole package of lasagna. Maybe we'll just have 2 servings. 2 servings, not 4. And let's think about, instead of calories, I want to know how much fat is going to be in 2 servings of this lasagna. Well, in 1 serving, it tells us right here on the label that there's 9 grams of fat. So let's set up our ratios again, create a proportion where we can understand how much fat is in 2 servings. If 4 servings is the whole container, then 2 servings out of those 4 servings shows us that we're looking at half, 1/2 of the container. So here's how we're going to set this up. We'll have our total fat per serving to 1 serving, is equal to the total fat in half of the container, that's 2 servings. Remember that the total fat in 1 serving is 9 grams. So 9 grams of fat to 1 serving is equal to how many grams of fat for 2 servings? That's what we're trying to decide. Remember, we have to have a common denominator. We have to have the same number on the bottom. So we're going to use the same process. We're going to multiply 2 by both the top and the bottom to make it equal. 9 times 2 is 18. 1 times 2 is 2. Therefore, there are 18 grams of fat to 2 servings. 18 grams of fat in half of the container. Now, you might want to go back and watch those examples again, but you might feel ready to go. Either way, we're going to have some time where you do practice on your own. There's a worksheet that's linked where you can practice, or you can also pause the video and look at the problems on the screen. So for the first 2 labels that I will show on the screen, we're going to be answering these questions. You're going to be looking at calories, grams of protein, and grams of sugar in 1 serving in the whole container. You can pause and look at these questions, and you're going to be using that information to look through the chocolate chip muffin nutrition facts label and the cottage cheese nutrition facts label. When you finish these, you're going to be answering these 7 questions about the Ritz crackers. A couple different questions here where we're going to be looking at 2 servings instead of the whole container. And when you're finished with the Ritz crackers questions, there's some questions about the bread. When you're all done, let's go over the answers for the first one as an example. The rest of the answers will be available in the documents linked to this video. Let's look at the chocolate chip muffin example. Number 1, how many calories are in 1 serving? There are 100 calories in 1 serving. How many servings per container? There are 4 servings per container. How many calories are there per container? There are 400 calories per container. How many grams of protein are there per serving? There are 9 grams of protein per serving. How many grams of protein are there per container? There are 36 grams of protein per container. How many grams of sugar are there per serving? There are 4 grams of sugar. And how many grams of sugar are there per container? 16 grams of sugar per container. Again, you can read all of the answers linked in the documents below. Lastly, let's reflect on how this connects to the healthcare industry. For these questions, you can take your journal, you can write your answers. Maybe you want to draw or create some sort of art to represent how you feel about these answers, or maybe you want to have a conversation with a friend. Here's the questions I would like you to consider. What impact does paying attention to nutrition facts labels have on public health? I want you to think about, how is healthy nutrition important to preventing and treating illness? Have you ever had a conversation with your healthcare provider about nutrition facts labels? What can doctors and nurses be intentional? How can they be intentional about this? And lastly, after this lesson, what might you change in your nutrition? Again, you can reflect however way you choose. I hope that this lesson was helpful for you in your math skills and also as you think about the healthcare industry as a whole.